An anxious day can look extremely productive from the outside. You answer easy messages, reorganize the task list, and rename files. You research one more option, clean the desk, and check the calendar. You remain in motion for hours, yet the one action that would change the situation stays untouched. This is how anxiety can create fake progress. It does not always freeze the body, sometimes it accelerates everything around the feared task. The mind wants relief from uncertainty, so small tasks provide quick closure. An email is answered, a folder becomes neat, and a box receives a check mark. Each completion produces a brief feeling of control. The central task remains uncertain, but the surrounding area looks increasingly organized. Picture a person running around a locked door, polishing the handle, measuring the frame, and sweeping the floor. They are not doing nothing, they are spending real energy. But none of the movement opens the door. This pattern is especially common when the important task includes evaluation, conflict, or a decision with no perfect answer. The task may be writing the first draft, sending the difficult message, or applying for the role. Reviewing the finances or choosing between two paths, busy work offers action without exposure. A useful mental model is relief work versus progress work. Relief work reduces discomfort quickly, but progress work changes the actual situation. Sometimes the same task does both, though often they are different. Checking the inbox may reduce the fear of something urgent, but it may not move the project. Researching another method may reduce the fear of choosing incorrectly, but it may not produce a decision. Rewriting the task list may reduce chaos, but it may not create the first paragraph. The point is not to insult small tasks, as administrative work matters. Cleaning and organizing can support action. But the question is timing. Why does the urge to do them become strongest exactly when the difficult task approaches? One common mistake is judging yourself as lazy because the important work is not moving. Laziness does not always explain a person who is exhausted from constant activity. The pattern may just be avoidance, wearing a productivity costume. Another mistake is creating an even more detailed plan. Planning can be useful, but anxious planning attempts to eliminate every unknown before action begins. The plan expands because certainty remains impossible. You create a map with more and more roads while refusing to take the first step. A better reframe is to ask, which action would produce a new reality? New reality is information that exists only after contact with the task. A rough draft reveals what you think, and a sent question reveals the other person's response. A small application reveals interest, and a basic budget reveals the real numbers. Research produces information about possible reality, while action produces information from actual reality. At some point, the second kind becomes necessary. You can identify the door-opening action by imagining you have 15 minutes. Which move would make the situation meaningfully different? Not more prepared, more organized, or more comfortable, just different. The answer is often emotionally uncomfortable and physically small. Open the account and write the current balance. Send the message asking for the meeting. Put 3 imperfect sentences in the document, or choose one option for a short trial. These actions create exposure, which is why the mind surrounds them with alternatives. Name the feeling before beginning, like saying I am anxious that this draft will show I do not know enough. I am afraid the person will say no, or I am worried the numbers will be worse than I expect. A named fear is easier to work with than a general cloud of busyness. Then lower the required outcome. The first action does not need to solve the problem. It needs to contact the problem. The draft can be bad, the message can request clarification, or the budget can be incomplete. The trial can be reversible. Use a progress rule, one door opening action, before relief work. Before organizing the files, write one paragraph. Before checking messages, make the call. Before researching another method, test the current one for 10 minutes. You are not banning the smaller tasks, you are changing their order. A visible 2-column list can help. On one side, write changes reality, on the other write reduces discomfort. Place today's actions honestly. If the second column is full and the first is empty, Choose one, small transfer. Be gentle with the nervous system. Anxiety is often trying to prevent pain, embarrassment, loss, or uncertainty. It is not an enemy that needs to be defeated, but protection becomes expensive when it keeps you circling the door indefinitely. A short body reset may make action possible, like a longer exhale, feet on the floor, or a brief walk. The reset is useful when it leads toward the task. If the calming routine becomes another hour of preparation, it joins the circle around the door. Progress may initially increase anxiety because the situation becomes real. Sending the application creates the possibility of rejection. Looking at the numbers removes comforting vagueness, and starting the draft reveals gaps. This increase does not mean the action was wrong. It may mean you finally touched the part that matters. After the action, record what reality said. Perhaps the feared response did not arrive. Perhaps the task was difficult, but survivable. Perhaps the numbers were challenging, and now you can plan. Each contact replaces imagined uncertainty with usable information. Return to the busy day. The inbox is clean, the folders are neat. The task list has been rewritten. None of that was meaningless, but the door remains closed. Choose a visible completion marker for the door opening action. Send the file, save the rough paragraph, or record the number. Place the appointment on the calendar. Anxiety prefers actions that remain private and reversible forever. They do not create exposure. A visible marker confirms that reality changed. It gives the mind evidence that you moved beyond preparation. Even if the larger problem remains unfinished, place one hand on the handle. Choose the action that changes reality by 1 inch. Let it be imperfect and small. Anxiety may still be present, but motion no longer has to orbit the fear. It can move through the door.